Hey everybody, I know it's been a while since I've posted anything. I've been going through a lot. Um, Basically, to keep it short, my landlord evicted me on false, basically a false lease that never existed. Um, so basically, what happened was months ago, he ended up slipping and telling me that him and his wife were divorced, which I never knew. I've been sending my rent payments to him for years to his ex-wife. Um, I'm gonna say probably so there was no trail leading to him. I don't know. But then I found through public searches and everything that my mom's name was like directly tied to like the title or the deed of the house, everything. So like there's definitely a lot of sketchy shit going on. So I was like, fuck this. I ain't paying until I figure out what's going on. I've already sent like $50,000 over the years. Now mind you, I moved in when my mom was still living there. I don't know whether she had a lease with him or not. I don't even think so. I know she gave him a security deposit or something. I don't know. But basically, when she moved out and bought her house next door, I took over the rent. But there was literally not even like a formal lease signed or anything. Like, literally, the first message ever sent to him was me asking him where he wants me to send the rent. That was it. Like, there was nothing even him like legally stating that I was, renting the house at that point. So that was in like 2021 or something like that. He tried putting that we had evicting me based on a false lease. So whether or not like I agreed to rent it doesn't matter. He evicted me under a false lease. Um, and said that it went back to 2019, which is when my mom moved in. So it was all bullshit. And I took basically evidence of all of it, screenshots of all the text messages we've ever had, stating there was no everything. Like, I'll share it with you guys. I'll post it. It's really well done. It took me 8 hours to do, and I was able to send it through certified. Now, I'm in a shit situation. My car's obviously still not up and running. Um, and I couldn't get to the courthouse. There was no way, with everything going on, I was even able to get there. Now, you should are supposed, based on what the courthouse says, even online, you are supposed to be able to submit an appeal to the courthouse through mail or in person, and sent it through mail, certified, and they had the nerve to send it back to me with just a sticky note saying you need to submit this in person. After literally presenting all the evidence, all the proof that I didn't have a working car, didn't have the ability, all this crap, they deliberately sent it to be put in person so I couldn't get it. Oh, that's okay, honey. I already know all you local courthouses are corrupt as shit. I'll have to show you guys the envelope. You know that little like symbol they do? They literally have that on their envelope for the municipal, and I think it's Tunkhannock is the one that was I was dealing with. They're all part of these groups, guys, allegedly. But anyways, that will be taken care of. But basically, my point is, I've just been going through hell and back, still trying to find something stable for me and the pets, and it's just been a crazy ride. But you have to go through this to get to the other side, basically, to get to the good stuff. You have to lose everything, basically, which I'm fine with because there was nothing there for me, anyways. Basically, right now, I'm just trying to keep everybody safe and fed, and, we're doing our best, trying to figure out something stable. God's been providing, trust me, even in the little ways. Every time I think, oh my God, what am I going to do? Something does come through. Even though it's small, it still really helps. So, anyways, as I was going through everything, all my evidence, all this stuff, um, I found something crazy. Okay? Now, to kind of give you an idea, Throughout this whole thing, I started realizing, well, with the major gaps in my memory, um, the way that my family's treated me my whole life, I just knew, like, there's something in me that just said, Keely, you might not belong to this family, or, like, I could be a missing There's a bunch of different scenarios. I started looking at missing person cases, and I stumbled onto Leanna Warner's. Now, what really struck me was the resemblance between me and Leanna, and she disappeared around the same exact age that I lost my memory. Like, I had major gaps in my memory, brain fog, can barely remember anything. So, not only that, when I started looking more into the case, I noticed that her traits were like just like literally spit an image of mine, from not wanting to wear shoes outside. Like, that was huge for me. I never ever wore shoes, and socks too. That was a big thing. They also mentioned how she was incredibly like resilient for her age, and like, had great survivor skills. That's me to a T. There was other things too. Um, there was one in particular where she would sleep with her mom. Like, her mom even mentioned, like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that, but I let her sleep with me way too long. I had an obsession, like, when I was around that age, um, of crawling into bed with my parents and wanting to sleep with my parents. They were assholes and wouldn't let me and yelled at me all the time. I would literally, like, spend an hour or two slow army crawling into the bed with them, just like for comfort, but it was like a behavioral thing, like major. Like, it wasn't just, oh, I want to sleep with my parents. Like, no, it was like a major behavioral thing. So I don't know, I kind of thought that was weird. And then there was like other things too. um there was Now, this isn't very publicly known, but if you watch Kendall Ray's videos, her true crime videos, she did do one on Leanna, and she discussed how the parents went on to this one, I forget, it was like a talk show or something, but they actually brought this like psychic out. Like, again, like, they didn't even know it was really rude what they did to the parents, actually. But the psychic was talking about like Leanna being dead. Now, she's mentioned this about other missing kids, probably placed there on purpose, probably fraudulent, to throw people off. Because she said that about other kids that ended up alive. I think Amanda Berry or something like that. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. It's one of them. But so she mentioned a yellow buggy. I remember specifically in the woods behind my childhood house that I lived in Sweet Valley, there was two buggies back there in the woods, because she kept saying like she's dead in a buggy or whatever. I do find that weird. So it doesn't mean that she's dead, but it couldn't. They like to throw things, some truth in there, some things in your face. I don't know. So I find all those things really weird. I thought, it was at least worth a shot of letting Chisholm police know about this, because you never know. You really don't. And again, I didn't want to go public with this at first because I wanted to respect the family. But I feel like at this point, I gotta say something about it. Again, I can't say I'm her. I really can't. There's a possibility. There's definitely a possibility. So, I know something's up. Something's not right. But the craziest thing that I wanted to share, and again, I know this video is gonna be so long, but wait till the end, guys. It's really worth it, especially like you little conspiracy theorists out there. You'd have a field day with this one, I swear. So when I was looking, at one of the documentaries for Leanna Warner, there's an FBI agent, because FBI was obviously heavily involved, and there was an agent, and I looked him up, and I stumbled across this whole entire website. So basically, it's all these retired agents, FBI agents, who almost all of them were involved with like mass shooting events. Like, I'm not gonna say they were, but a lot of conspiracy theorists call them like false flag events or staged events, or different theories, you know, come with the territory. I'm not saying one's the other, what I am saying is they're all tied to the same events and major systems that, determine how these situations are handled. So basically, they all came up with they're all involved with the same consulting company where they go and they consult with schools, public schools and organizations and everything. And yeah, trust me, it's weird. That's all I'm gonna say. Weird connection. So basically, I'm gonna show you guys some stuff with the Leanna Warner case that I've been dealing with. So I'm gonna show you like some photos of me as a kid, um, in the email that I sent over to Chisholm Police. I'm gonna show you some of the emails, some of the phone calls, um, and I will show you, some of. Now I already did post these, so I'm gonna integrate them into the video a little bit. But again, there were some really weird photos I found in my shed of my dad and my dad, and yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and show you some stuff now. Make this video as short as possible. Now, because there was so many similarities to me and Leanna's appearance as a child, and because of how severely gapped my memory is as a child, like I barely remember anything. Um, you know, Major gaps and brain fog, and also the fact of what I had found in my shed with pictures of my father, night gardening, we'll call it. Yeah, we'll pretend like that's normal. But here is the email that I had sent them. I included my YouTube and Facebook links so that way they can take a look of all the footage and basically everything that's been happening so far. Because a lot of what's been happening to me, unfortunately, a lot of victims of trafficking have dealt with the same thing I have. Now, I'm going to show you here, these are the photos I attached in the email of the night gardening. My wonderful Uncle Ryan, which I do believe him and his wife are heavily involved in this as well, especially considering my uncle has many connections to a lot of the pro sports professionals. And also, one of the earliest memories I have is being on a plane with him. For some reason, that's always like one of the main memories that comes up. So I definitely think there's some significance there. Again, all these photos that I'm showing you, some of them, like these ones specifically, of me, my family, well, my mother, like I've shown you in the past with the book, my family loves to shove it in my face. It's part of a ritual. It's humiliation ritual. They, enjoy putting things right in front of me thinking that I'll never figure it out. So these particular photos here are ones that she had pasted on a board for my 16th birthday, and I'll share pictures of the entire board as well. But these are just some of the photos that one in particular is very interesting. And these were all on the little board that she put up. Yep, that too. A lot of cruise ship photos, so they were definitely doing something with the cruise ships. I don't know if maybe that's one way they were moving children or, me. I don't remember any of this. And none of these, I don't remember any of these at all. Now, they did email me back. Look, guys, I spelled my own middle name wrong. That's how stressed I've been. Oh my goodness. Now, anyways, they did email me back. So they just asked me to send some, additional information here to them. and then they'd, have someone reach out to me. So I did send them that additional information. Not gonna share it because that's my personal information, but it does include my correct middle name. And an officer from the Chisholm department, Officer Rock, did call me back. So after playing a little bit of phone tag, got a hold of him. He had instructed me to contact the department in my area where I was staying at the time and have them come swab me and send it over to them. And basically, he informed me to let them know, like, that they will talk to them regarding the situation, that I can put them on the phone with them when they get here, yada yada. I didn't unfortunately record that phone call, which I should have, but that one I unfortunately didn't get. But I did get the phone call between me and the Wilkes-Barre Township Police, and the phone call between me and Officer Rock after speaking with the Wilkes-Barre PD. Basically, Wilkes-Barre PD sent me to their detective, left a message with the detective, and of course it's about almost a month later and never heard anything back from anybody. But there is something extremely important I want to share here. And this is what made me go, oh my god, it might be true. So when I was talking to the Wilkes-Barre PD, you can see the number here, there was a number that called me during the conversation and I missed the call. So take a look at this. So if you look at this number here, this is the number that called me, right? At first it looks normal, Virginia, Chrissy, I'm not even gonna try. But check this out. I found a Virginia Eileen Warner right on the list that I was searching. Alias Virginia, last name I can't pronounce. But would you look at that? Like, are you kidding me? So, I don't know. I mean, that can't be a coincidence at all. So, also, I put in my DNA test to Ancestry. Now, I believe the sisters only did 23andMe, if I remember correctly, from the footage I was watching. And also, I hate to say this, but I can't be sure that anything that I submit, especially through mail, is accurate. This is gonna sound insane, but it's very possible that someone could have even submitted from my family their own DNA in it. Now, the reason why I go to those extremes and say that is because, and again, I'm going to be sharing a lot of this too, because this is very important. I found out that my mail was tampered with. So, and I have actual proof of this, even directly from Fidelity themselves, saying they never picked up my mail. So basically, my mail, my post lady loves to give these redelivery slips instead of actually coming to my door. There's a whole thing with that. I confronted her about that at the post office. She tried making up some bullcrap excuse about there being dogs in the house. I have it all documented, but it was strategically done so that my mail was kept at the post office. Then through the tracking, I found out that it was not returned, forwarded back to it wasn't even as a return to sender. That's the thing. I've had other return to senders that did not show up this way. So she messed up. So they put it in as a forward, and it was actually signed and picked up by somebody in Wisconsin. That was not me. I've tried putting in foyers. I'll probably include that in this video for you to see, but again, I'm trying to keep it as short as possible. I might just make a separate video on that. But I foyered it and everything, and they've completely ignored half of what I've requested. They did end up sending me that someone signed for it, a screenshot of it, but they refused to show me the signature. So they're trying to cover up as much as possible, but I caught them dead messing with my mail, which I had a feeling was going on. The reason I knew it was Fidelity is because I have informed delivery, and I was able to see the screenshot and put the tracking together. And then when I called Fidelity, they directly told me that no one should have picked that up. That's not their procedure. So yeah, I believe they swapped the envelopes, and there was something important I was supposed to receive, but never did. So again, I can't be certain that even the DNA I submit at the post office is legit. I hate to say that, but from what I was looking back on with the DNA, there was some like late connections. Like now, this isn't like immediate, but there was ones in the past that had Warner in it. I believe Whitaker. Again, I'm gonna share all that stuff. I just have not had the time to get this all together. And I kind of figured that the police would be at least getting in touch with me at this point, but nope, no one's been in touch. So, But then once I found the discovery of the FBI officer and that whole entire list, it just made me realize like how deep this really goes. So, who's to say what's really going on, guys? So now I'm gonna share with you my phone call between the Wilkes-Barre Police Department and also with the Chisholm Police Department following the Wilkes-Barre phone call. So to start, this is the phone call I had made to Wilkes-Barre Township.
Hi, how can I help you?
Hi, so I have just recently contacted an officer from the Chisholm, Minnesota department regarding a missing persons case with a tip and some information. They had asked if I could contact you guys and ask if you can do like a DNA swab and send it over to them. He did mention. Oh,
I don't know what it's in regards to, though. What are you referring to?
So it's in regards to a missing persons case. They want to do a DNA test to see if there's a match.
Missing from where?
From Chisholm, Minnesota.
And that person is where?
I'm sorry?
The person that you're looking for the DNA swab is where?
That would be like I inquired with them about it. I think it might be me. I'm not 100% sure. That's why they want to do the swab.
Okay, so they want you to submit to a DNA swab? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, the thing is though, it's in a completely different state, so I'm assuming like that's why they want me to contact you guys to send to
Why are they having you contact us directly, though, rather than the state police?
I don't know that because like the state police, I don't know if like I don't know. I don't know their process. That's just what he told me. He did mention if you guys did do it like just to have.
Do you live in Wilkes-Barre?
I'm currently located there, yes.
And what's the address?
Currently I'm at a hotel, so I'm at the I am not going to share where I was just for my safety, so we're gonna fast forward that a little bit.
I think the police department there needs to send a formal request to us in order to facilitate that. How long are you going to be here?
It's kind of iffy, but for at least probably a couple days to a week, if anything. So I'll still be here.
Here's what I'm going to do. I think this is something that needs to be addressed through our detectives. What I'm going to do, I'm going to forward you to her extension. If you could leave her a message, let her know what you're doing and why, and a contact number, and then if you have a contact number or information for the officer that's requesting it out of whatever police department there, leave that in the message so she can follow up with them if she needs to. And because I'm pretty sure there's going to need to be some formal chain of custody here, or some formal chain of request that needs to take place before that could even take place.
Yeah.
And even if then, I don't know, like, the circumstances behind their case, so I'm not just going to tell you to come in and, okay, we'll take a whatever from you.
Right.
Without knowing the background, so.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Her,
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You have reached the voicemail for the Wilkes-Barre Township Police Detective Division. Please leave your name and number and a brief message on why you are calling, and your call will be returned as soon as possible. Thank you.
Hi, this is Kaylee Love giving you a call. I just spoke to one of the township's officers, and they had directed me to contact you regarding this matter. So I had contacted the police department in Chisholm, Minnesota, regarding a missing persons case. I believe that I may possibly be that person because of certain things. So I contacted them. They had told me, I do not know the officer's name, he did not give me his name, but they did mention to have the Wilkes-Barre Township PD do a DNA swab to see if you guys would DNA swab me and then send that over to them so they can do a DNA test, see if it matches. My contact information is 570-313-0761. If you can please give me a call back, that would be great. Also, if you need to get in touch with the officer at the station, I do have the number here for you. So the number is going to be 218-254-7915. Thank you, and have a great day. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you the phone call I made back to Officer Rock at the Chisholm department. Now, this one's a little broken up. Like I said, things were hectic, and I didn't get to calmly say, okay, I'm gonna sit here and record this for documentation. Like, it was like, oh yeah, I should record this. So it's a little broken up. But this is the beginning of the phone call, and then there is a second video with the second part. So here you go. That he wasn't too sure. He was like, he thinks that they might have to have a formal request from you guys in order to do that. So he sent me over to the detective office, and I left a message with them, and I did give the phone number to your office and everything, and explained the situation that was going on. So I'm just waiting to hear back from her, and you might hear from her as well. I'm not sure what her name is or anything like that. Now, I did want to also mention something to you as well that could be useful. Two things, actually. So literally, as I was calling them, I got a phone call. And you know how I said I was getting, all those VoIP numbers and everything like that?
Yep.
Well, I got one. Okay, and that's where it cuts off, and I started recording again right after it cut off. I think I was having some sort of issue with my phone too. I'm not sure. But here's the second part of that one. Was Warner, it was Virginia Warner or something like that. On top of it, I just looked through my DNA results again, because like I said, I've had so much going on. I haven't got a chance to look through every single thing. But when I was looking through the distant relatives, and now again, this goes far back, but there is Warner, and I believe Whitaker was even on there too. So if you need me to send you any screen grabs or fax you anything, anything you guys need, I can send over.
Okay. For now, we'll just wait till the detective gets a hold of you.
Yeah.
And when they get a hold of us, I'm assuming they'll be in tomorrow. Wait, today is Monday.
Yeah.
So, they should probably be in tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Just give this number a call. If not, I got
got my office number I can give you too?
Yeah, definitely.
My office is 218-254-7941.
7941. Okay, I have 218-254-7941.
Yep, I'm pretty sure that's it.
Okay. And then I'm sorry, can I have your name one more time?
Rock, R-O-C-K.
Oh, cool name. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yep, no problem.
All right, talk to you soon. Bye.
Yep, bye.
All right. So that concludes the phone calls. I did also email the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension in Minnesota because I know they direct tips to there as well. They handle majority of the case. You can see that here. Basically all the same email with my links. Same photos. And then I also did send the email to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Same email. And as you can see here, guys, no reply back from either one. Not a single reply. Now, as far as like the Chisholm Police Department, I don't know. I can't speak for them. I don't know why they haven't contacted me. Also have to keep in mind many of my, devices have been hacked many times. I actually just found out not too long ago, like a month or two ago before I had to leave my home, that they hacked into my Cash App account when I was trying to do something with my Cash App account, change a something. I got a text message saying that there was another phone number. It didn't give me the full phone number, so I couldn't look it up fully. That one was just added to my account. And then another one was removed, which came back to some Courtney idiot in Tunkhannock. So, like, when I say my stuff is constantly messed with, I mean, I have full documentation of all of it. So, if I didn't document half the stuff, guys, no one would believe a word I was saying. But that's why I'm wondering, because I still try to do the math on my money, and I'm like, I don't understand. I barely spent a dime. Like, all I bought was food over those months. And yeah, I couldn't tell you where money went. So I strongly believe I might have a good idea now that my accounts ended up being hacked. So again, I can't speak for Chisholm. I don't know if maybe phone calls were blocked. I don't know. Who knows what the Wilkes-Barre detective said to them, because again, I'm not making any accusations, but a lot of officials in this county are heavily involved with this stuff, guys, from what I've documented. And yes, I will say that because I have documented proof of that. Now, whether or not this detective specifically was, I don't know, but she never even gave me a call back. Nothing. So, this is all just to document, show you exactly what's going on. And that being said, I am going to now show you how the documentary I was watching led me to an FBI officer, and how that FBI officer led me to an entire group of retired FBI agents, all connected to mass shooting and bombing events. So when I watched the documentary, Don Robinson popped up discussing the Leanna Warner case. So he was like directly involved with it. This guy right here. So I looked him up on, I guess, like a Google search or whatever, and it led me back to this. So the Bureau Consortium, whatever, LLC, I don't know. But basically what it is it's like, I guess they came up with their own little like consulting company, violence prevention and mitigation experts. Yeah, keep my opinions to myself. Their mission is, a world-class disciplinary team of FBI experts and elite practitioners, that's an interesting word, poised to assist in managing the complexities of violence and threat mitigation. Now, guys, from what I can see here, is they deal with a lot of organizations, public schools, things like that. So keep that in mind. This is all their services that they offer. Now, like I said, at first it just kind of was like, oh, okay, just a bunch of retired officers. You hear the founders. I didn't even really go through them in this video, but again, I'm going to post a link to this so you all can take a look, especially you crazy conspiracy nuts out there that love to put things together like I do. I just have way too much going on to focus mainly on this right now. But, basically this is their little consulting company, and when I started going through, all the members, I started realizing how many connections that they had to prior past shootings and bombings. It's insane, guys. That's when I really knew, okay, now I really need to look into this. One of the first names that really stood out to me was Catherine Turman. Most people have probably never heard of her, like most of the prior agents we're going to discuss today. But when you start looking at the events connected to her FBI division, it's honestly hard to ignore. Now, Catherine Turman served as Assistant Director over the FBI's Victims Services Division from 2002 to 2020. And during that time, her division became involved in more than 35 terrorism and mass violence events across the United States. Now take a look at this. Sandy Hook, Pulse nightclub, Parkland, Las Vegas, Boston Marathon, Virginia Tech, El Paso, Dayton, San Bernardino, and those are only some of them. Now, what makes this interesting isn't that she was a field agent chasing suspects. She helped build the entire victim response infrastructure surrounding these events. According to her own bio, the FBI Victim Services Division expanded from just 6 employees to a massive national system that included victim specialists, child forensic interviewers, hostage response teams, operational psychologists, and terrorism response coordinators. She also helped develop the FBI's response system after 9/11 and later created the FBI's Victim Services Response Team, known as VSRT. And once you start seeing the same names, the same systems, and the same response infrastructure appearing again and again after major national tragedies, you start realizing how interconnected the entire world really is. Before the FBI, Turman also worked in the Department of Justice, overseeing programs tied to missing and exploited children. So she later became connected to hostage recovery fusion systems, forensic science commissions, and national victim response policy. Now, another name that immediately jumped out at me was Robert DePriest, because unlike some of the others, his connection to multiple major mass casualty events is extremely direct. Robert DePriest spent over 20 years in the FBI's Miami division and became the founding crisis management coordinator for the Miami FBI Crisis Management Unit. But then I got to this part. According to his own bio, DePriest acted as on-scene commander during the Pulse nightclub shooting response. Then it says he also represented the FBI during 2 additional mass casualty events, the Fort Lauderdale airport shooting and the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in Parkland. That means one individual was directly involved in the crisis management response to multiple nationally known attacks. And it doesn't stop there. He was also the FBI Miami active shooter program manager, a SWAT operator, firearms instructor, tactical instructor, and alert instructor. Now, ALERT, ALERRT, stands for Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training, one of the major active shooter training systems used across the country. After leaving the FBI, DePriest moved directly into the private security and school safety world. Now he works as a school security director and runs a company focused on workplace violence prevention, threats assessment, active shooter training, command systems, and K-12 security programs. And this is where the pattern starts becoming hard to ignore. The same small network of crisis managers, behavioral experts, active shooter instructors, and federal response coordinators keep appearing around many of the biggest mass casualty events in modern America. I think it's important to examine how interconnected this entire crisis response infrastructure really is, especially when many of the same individuals later move into the rapidly growing private security and school safety industry. Now, another figure that immediately stood out to me was Dan Jewis, because unlike some of the others, his connection to Sandy Hook is direct. Dan Jewis was the lead investigator of the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting while serving with the Connecticut State Police Major Crime Squad. That alone would make him a significant figure in modern mass casualty history. But what becomes interesting is what happened afterward. According to his bio, Jewis later spent years teaching active shooter response, leadership training, soft target assessments, and emergency preparedness for police, dispatchers, civilians, schools, healthcare workers, and places of worship. He also founded something called the RAK Academy, a private training organization focused on what it calls easy to understand and affordable strategies to save lives in active killer incidents. Heavy on the save lives capitalization. And this is another pattern that keeps appearing throughout this network. After major national tragedies, many of the same investigators, tactical trainers, crisis coordinators, and behavioral experts later become deeply involved in the rapidly expanding world of active shooter preparedness, school security, civilian response training, and soft target protection. Jewis also had a long military background in the Connecticut Army National Guard, including counter-drug operations and leadership training for local, state, and federal agencies. So when you step back and look at the bigger picture, you start seeing how interconnected these systems really are. Law enforcement, military training, school safety, active shooter response, and private security infrastructure. Many of the same names repeatedly appear not only during the investigations themselves, but later in the system's training programs and industries that emerged afterwards. And one of the most important names in this entire network might actually be Dr. Gene Dysinger, because his background sits right at the intersection of psychology, school safety, behavioral threat assessment, and mass violence prevention systems. Gene Dysinger is a psychologist who specializes in operational psychology, protective intelligence, and behavioral threat assessment management. And when you start looking at where his career took him, a pattern starts emerging very quickly. After the 2007 Virginia Tech shooting, Dysinger was recruited to Virginia Tech itself, where he became Deputy Chief of Police and Director of Threat Management Services. Think about that for a second. One of the deadliest school shootings in American history happens, and afterward a massive threat management infrastructure begins developing around the campus. According to his bio, Deisinger helped direct multidisciplinary threat management systems across the university. But the connections don't stop there. In 2022, the Department of Justice appointed him as a subject matter expert for the Critical Incident Review team examining the Robb Elementary School shooting in Uvalde, Texas. So now we have the same behavioral threat expert connected to Virginia Tech and later Uvalde. He's also been deeply involved in the Virginia Center for School and Campus Safety and the Mass Violence Advisory Initiative, a joint project connected to the Department of Justice and the International Association of Chiefs of Police. And this is where the broader picture starts becoming hard to ignore. Over the last 2 decades, an entire behavioral threat assessment industry has emerged around mass violence prevention. Psychologists, threat managers, protective intelligence experts, school safety consultants, behavior analysis, and many of the same names keep appearing after some of the most significant mass casualty events in America. He became one of the architects of the systems designed to study, predict, and respond to them. Now, one of the most revealing figures in this entire network might actually be Kenji Okuma, because his background connects together fusion centers, terrorism infrastructure, school threat monitoring, and anonymous reporting systems that now exist across the United States. Kenji Okuma spent 24 years in law enforcement with the Nevada State Police, but what really stood out to me was his role as executive officer for the Nevada Threat Analysis Center, which is Nevada's State Fusion Center. Fusion centers became a major part of the post-9/11 intelligence and homeland security system in America. According to his bio, Okuma supervised intelligence operations, information security, FOIA, tactical coordination, and joint investigations involving the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, DEA, ATF, and U.S. Marshals. He also studied and trained for mass casualty events, emergency management, and critical infrastructure protection. But then the focus shifts directly into schools. Okuma was tasked with developing Nevada's statewide anonymous school reporting system. After that, he helped develop and implement the National Crisis Center for Sandy Hook Promise, including the Say Something anonymous reporting system now used across multiple states and more than 120 school districts. He also helped design Pennsylvania's Safe to Say system, and this is where things become especially interesting. After major school shootings, an entirely new layer of infrastructure began emerging in America. Anonymous reporting systems, behavioral threat monitoring, fusion centers, school intelligence coordination, and mass violence prevention networks. And again, many of the same experts keep appearing inside those systems. Okuma became deeply involved in building the national infrastructure designed to monitor, assess, and respond to potential threats in schools and public spaces after events like Sandy Hook. And once you start mapping how interconnected these systems are, the picture becomes bigger than what most people realize. Now, one of the darkest and most interesting names in this network is Michael Harrigan, because his background connects directly into the FBI systems used to track violent offenders, missing persons, and interstate crime patterns across the United States. Michael Harrigan spent 30 years in law enforcement and worked inside the FBI's National Center for the Analysis of Violent Crime. The same broader world connected to behavioral analysis, violent offender tracking, and critical incident response. But what really stood out to me was his role as chief of the Violent Criminal Apprehension Program, better known as VICAP. VICAP is one of the FBI's major systems for analyzing violent crime patterns involving homicide, sexual assault, missing persons, and unidentified human remains. According to his bio, Harrigan led teams working with agencies across the country on exactly those type of cases. Then there's this line right here. His team launched the national campaign examining victims and perpetrators associated with movement through the interstate highway system. And honestly, that opens an enormous rabbit hole. Because for years, investigators and researchers have examined how interstate corridors can overlap with serial crimes, trafficking routes, offender mobility, disappearances, and unidentified remains found across state lines. Harrigan also helped develop the FBI's VICAP web database, a system designed to help investigators connect violent crimes across jurisdictions. At the same time, he later became chief of the FBI Firearms Training Unit, overseeing firearms training for more than 13,000 armed FBI personnel. He also reviewed incidents involving deadly force used by FBI personnel. And once again, we see the same pattern: violent crime analysis, critical incident response, active shooter training, behavioral systems, and federal infrastructure, all overlapping through many of the same institutional networks. Harrigan played a major role in building and managing some of the systems the FBI uses to map, analyze, and respond to violent crime patterns across America. One of the most unsettling parts of Michael Harrigan's background is how closely his work overlaps with the kinds of systems often discussed in trafficking and interstate violent crime investigations. As chief of the FBI's Violent Criminal Apprehension Program, Harrigan oversaw work involving missing persons, sexual assault, homicides, and unidentified human remains. But that detail that really stood out to me was this: his team specifically examined cases involving movement through the interstate highway system. That matters because interstate corridors have long been studied in connection with transient offender movement, serial crimes, human and child trafficking routes, disappearances across state lines, and unidentified victims found far from where they vanished. And when you combine that with VICAP, a national FBI system designed to connect violent crimes across jurisdictions, you start seeing how massive these tracking and intelligence systems really are. And finally, we are going to discuss Don Robinson. Now, before we get too much into Don Robinson, I just am going to show you a short clip from a documentary regarding Leanna Warner. It is by People's Magazine Investigates, episode 5, season 7, called Little Girl Gone. And Don Robinson is featured in this documentary, and that is what led me to discover this Bureau Consultorium page. So I'm just going to play this clip for you quickly.
A serial child abductor has been working his way through the Midwest, leaving devastated families wherever he goes.
My name is Don Robinson. I was a supervisory special agent with the FBI in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. On May 16, 2005, there was an Amber Alert out of Coeur d'Alene, 2 missing children, Dylan and Shasta Groney. Their parents and older brother were killed in a horrific triple homicide. And our concern was that the missing children were abducted. But we were working a real whodunit.
After 2 months of searching, the hunt for the siblings finally comes to an end on July 3rd when Shasta Groney is discovered by police inside an Idaho Denny's. The man she's with is Joseph Duncan.
Joseph Duncan is arrested, and Shasta's put in protective custody. Shasta tells police that in the weeks that she was Duncan's captive, they stayed at multiple remote campsites, one of which is where the police end up finding Dylan's body.
Joseph Duncan was arrested. We recovered a laptop computer and a GPS device from his vehicle. And then in interviewing Shasta, the surviving victim, she relayed to us stories he told about prior crimes. That's when we realized we've got a serial killer. Once we reviewed his laptop, we found written files documenting this experience. He was almost creating a diary as he traveled around the country searching for victims. And he had a blog.
There were hundreds of posts dating back to 2000, where Duncan openly expresses that he is a sex offender.
The guy basically launched himself on a mission to conduct child abductions.
But there's one post in particular that takes everyone involved in Leanna's disappearance by surprise.
In January 2004, he made a reference to Leanna Warner. She went missing 6 months prior, and he made a comment in his blog.
In his blog post, Duncan says, "Just found out that 5-year-old girl went missing from Chisholm, Minnesota on June 14th, 2003. This year. I did not even know until today that this happened. So I tried to figure out what I was doing that day, since I'm always afraid of getting accused when something like this happens."
Now, not only did Don Robinson work very closely on the Leanna Warner case, but his background also combines several themes that keep appearing throughout this network: counterterrorism, behavioral threat assessment, and crisis response infrastructure. Don Robinson spent 23 years with the FBI, working in both the Criminal Investigative Division and the Counterterrorism Division. But one detail in his bio stands out immediately. At the time of his retirement, he was the FBI legal attaché in Moscow, Russia. That means he served as one of the FBI's official international representatives inside Russia, coordinating with foreign law enforcement and intelligence-related operations during a period of growing geopolitical tension. Now, if you guys have seen my prior videos, at the beginning of all of this, I was investigating the underground independent horror filmmaking group that is associated with my ex. Now, at the very beginning, I started connecting fake accounts to some of these individuals associated with this group. Now, one, especially in particular, was found on Russian domains and websites. I did a reverse photo search of them using Yandex. Now, Yandex is great because it does not just search US domains, it searches other countries, especially Russia. Now, what I'm finding is a lot of these groups like to hide behind other country domains. And it just so happened that it was Russia. Not only that, but my brother, whether or not it's really him, and it was all staged, or it is somebody pretending to be him, or even worse, I don't want to completely throw that theory out there yet, but regarding organ donation, experimental type things, if you get my drift. Again, those are the three type of possibilities that I can think of with that, but I do strongly believe it's very possible, based on the events that occurred, that he may still be alive. Now, the accounts that I found associated with his images on Yandex were all Russian as well, and he even posted that he was in the Russian military, and that he also, was writing in Russian as well. So I don't know. Russia definitely has a lot to do with this. Obviously I haven't been able to fully make all of the connections yet, but I definitely know there is a very strong connection to Russia. I've also had an incident or two where someone directly was basically involving themselves in a conversation I had when I still talked to people at the beginning of this, and they were very they had a very heavy Russian accent, let's just put it that way, and it was a very strange encounter. So again, there is a lot of connections to Russia. So, once I started looking into the Leanna Warner case more and more, that's when I stumbled upon the documentary and upon Dawn. So that's what led me to this website. And honestly, when I first started looking into this network, I honestly thought I was just going to find a random collection of retired law enforcement and security professionals. But the deeper I looked into them, the more patterns started appearing. The same names, same systems, the same areas of expertise. So active shooter responses, behavioral threat assessment, fusion centers, victim services, school safety systems, violent crime databases, counterterrorism, missing persons investigations, anonymous reporting programs, mass casualty response infrastructure, and over again, many of these same people appeared around some of the most significant tragedies and security expansions in modern America. Sandy Hook, Pulse, Parkland, Virginia Tech, Uvalde, Las Vegas, Boston, El Paso. Catherine Turman's FBI division alone became connected to all these events and dozens of other mass casualty incidents. Robert DePriest served in direct crisis management roles connected to Pulse nightclub, the Fort Lauderdale airport shooting, and the Stoneman Douglas shooting in Parkland. Dan Jewis was the lead investigator for Sandy Hook and later moved heavily into active shooter training, school preparedness, and soft target assessments. Gene Dysinger was recruited after Virginia Tech and later became involved in the Department of Justice review surrounding Uvalde while helping build behavioral threat management systems for schools and campuses. Kenji Okuma worked inside fusion centers, mass casualty preparedness systems, FBI terrorism task force coordination, and later helped develop anonymous reporting systems connected to Sandy Hook, Promise, and Safe to Say programs used in schools across America. Michael Harrington oversaw violent crime analysis systems involving homicide, missing persons, interstate movement patterns, and the FBI's VICAP database, while also managing firearms and deadly force review systems. And once you start putting all these people together in one place, a much larger picture starts forming. Behavioral threat assessment, mass violence prevention, active shooter response, fusion centers, victim services, school monitoring systems, counterterrorism, violent crime databases, crisis management infrastructure, all interconnected through many of the same institutional networks and individuals repeatedly appearing around major national events over the last 2 decades. Now, you tell me if that's a coincidence. Now, as you can see here, we definitely did not go over every single one of these, but I strongly encourage you to go to the website and take a look for yourself. You will be very surprised to see how many of these individuals are associated and had a big role to play in the investigation or cleanup, as I'd like to call it, with these mass shootings and other mass events that have happened. So the website is going to be linked down below. I encourage you to take a look. Let me know if you guys find anything that I'm missing. Like I said, with everything going on, I do not have the time or the resources to fully dig into this as much as I'd like to. And as always, thanks for watching.